All right. I am Ramsey Said What. Thank you guys for listening to the A-Side B-Side podcast, a branded podcast by what's the moment.net, and watching because we're also on YouTube. So thank you for doing that. I have a very special guest today. I generally like to let my guests introduce themselves. So take it away.
Hello, podcast listeners. I am Bobby Olivier. I am a reporter who writes about music for NJ.com and the Star Ledger. And I also write for Billboard and Spin magazines. And what else have I done? I've written for Elle. I've written for Philly Inquirer a million years ago, Asbury Park Press. But yeah, New Jersey guy through and through. Grew up here, live here, work here, and happy to be here.
Nice. Thank you for joining us. Wait, what part of Jersey are you from?
I am from Jackson, land of the roller coasters
Okay.
and baboons who try to rip plastic off of your car on the Safari drive-through.
Yes.
But I live near Asbury Park in like Monmouth County, near where all the music is in New Jersey.
Yes. I'm born and raised in Neptune, so Asbury's a stone toss away. So I have family in Jackson, so definitely know both areas. Well, that kind of actually was going to be my first question. Like, what part of Jersey were you from? So,
well, happy to be here and talk about music journalism, and whatever else you want to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll ask from this perspective because I know a little bit. What do your emails look like on a day-to-day? How many press kits are you getting or press releases?
A lot. I mean, and over the years, it's definitely gotten to. I get more like high quality stuff now, like more stuff that I would actually want to read, and less of the stuff that is really not on the level of anything that we would want to cover. But my Microsoft Outlook has a junk folder and then a clutter folder, which is sort of like fancier junk, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff gets kicked there. But yeah, most of the good stuff gets through. But yeah, I mean, to put a number on it, I don't know, dozens every day.
Yeah.
I try not to check it on the weekend. That's for sure.
I hear you. So do you think that like print is still like the place that breaks music anymore?
The on print side, no, not at all. I mean, I think that for us, I work for like technically the company is NJ Advanced Media, which that's the parent company, and all of my stuff publishes on NJ.com first, and then most of it will end up in the Star Ledger a day or two later. And the day or two later part is key, right? When there's breaking news. So I don't think that no, print side is not where news is breaking, even on the magazine level. I mean, especially with magazines that are, long lead, they're publishing 3 months into 3 months out, stuff like that. I mean, really it breaks on Twitter. If yesterday's, and I don't know when this is going to come out, but on the date of January 24th in the year of our Lord 2022, the whole Damon Albarn and Taylor Swift feud that blew up on Twitter. I mean, Taylor Swift tweeted immediately criticizing him about him saying that she didn't write her own songs. And then as soon as she tweeted, I mean, it was global news.
Yeah.
And everyone had it. So really everything happened. Everything happens there. And yeah, really the artist social media pages is really where everything breaks first for the most part. Yeah. That, or maybe a Rolling Stone article where someone will divulge like a small thing, but for the most part, album announcements, like Rolling Stone, like with like Spin and Billboard, we'll still get like exclusives, like that's the way that a lot of like PR people will get in the door of saying, hey, we have this artist who maybe you wouldn't normally write about, but we'll give you the exclusive to announce their new album or or break their new single or something.
Yeah.
And everyone likes to be first. So that will something that'll get us our ears perked a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's got to be like outside of like playlists on like the streaming platforms. Like I can't tell you the last time I've discovered a new artist via like an article I read or the radio, God forbid, from back in the day.
Yeah, and it's funny because I still, when I'm in the car, because my day is listening to so much music just throughout the day, because and things, whether I want to listen to it or not, like just binging things because I have to. Um, that when I'm in the car, like I like still putting on like terrestrial radio. I still have like my presets of like 94.3 The Point, Jersey Shore's #1 hit radio station in my brain. Yeah, my I think my presets right now, I have 92.3, which is AMP out of New York. That's like their new alternative station. I have 94.3. I have Z100 still. I have 95.9 The Rat for like your hard rock.
The Rat. Oh man.
Yeah, like metal stuff. And then like 107.1 The Boss, which is not only Springsteen stuff. It's like classic rock. But what I like to play like a little game with myself where I'll click through each one, and I want to make sure that I can name the song and the artist for each one when I click through. It's sort of like a barometer to make sure that I know the stuff before and ahead of me that's coming in. But in terms of like, finding new artists, I think it depends on how dialed in. I think like people who are maybe, I don't know, maybe like 40 and younger, I think probably aren't discovering new artists so much from like a, new artist to listen to list on Rolling Stone or Spin or whatever. I think there are people who still sort of rely on that. And for NJ.com every year, and it just published my annual, usually 31 or 32 New Jersey bands and artists to listen to this year. And that actually gets a lot of feedback at more like the local level. And, people say, oh, I just discovered this new great artist from this list. Thank you. And I know that's only a couple people, but I think I don't know. I think it depends on the person, but it's like a Spotify like release radar New Music Friday, I think, is that I found a lot of my new stuff there too.
Nice. Yeah. I read your the 32 that just published. It's spot on.
Cool. Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate you reading it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So back when I started my blog, which is now this podcast, it really started to bubble up because of lists. So like I don't think people understand how much effort goes into these lists, and probably how much like hate and DMs you probably get for, oh, you didn't put me in the article.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always tell people in New Jersey, there's 565 municipalities, and that's counting like Middletown as one municipality when there's like 7 full towns within Middletown.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or like Woodbridge that has like 6 full towns. But anyway, I'm one person trying to cover a state of 9 million people. And out of those 9 million, how many of them make music? There's always going to be someone that's left out. And I think that the sort of normal, rational person understands that, a list is only like a sampling of what's actually out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they couldn't, no one could possibly get all of it. And yet there were years ago when like I would do this list, and then like some like smaller like New Jersey blogs, they would do I would do my 31 artists, and they would do 31 artists that Bobby forgot about.
Okay.
They would find a whole nother 31 list of artists, a lot of which that I had considered that, just didn't make the cut for one reason or another. But yeah, I mean, luckily with NJ.com, like the blessing and curse is us being like a general interest publication that we reach a tremendous amount of people every day. So no matter what I write, I get hate mail for no matter what. So
for sure.
All good. You have to have a very thick skin.
Yeah. What I really like about like your approach with this is like you'll say like an artist and like, hey, listen to them if you like this guy and this guy. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Where I guess like my approach is always like, here, just listen to this guy. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I do that, and I mean that comes from 2 different things. One, I mean every press release that you get, they put a little like FFO for fans of X, Y, and Z, and like that over years, and then. From looking at the list from years ago on Spin and stuff, like they always would do that. And like, I think that a lot of people just skim it and then they just look for artists that are something that sounds like something they already know, and then sort of go from there. And that's fine. I mean, that's again, that like the good thing about being a reporter is that you're also a consumer. Like, it's not like I'm making computer chips and I don't use those computer chips and know nothing about them. Like, I am writing and like trying to write and create content that is something like the things that I like to read. So it's sort of this like weird give and take. But that's one thing that definitely comes with doing this for a long ass time is that you get to the point where you can read your stuff like it isn't your stuff. Like, once you're able to separate your own ego from your writing, like, that makes you such a better writer. Like, it makes you such like a better self editor without getting too much like in the weeds of like writing process stuff. But yeah.
You also do food and arts for NJ.com as well, right?
Yeah, I edit. So I edit our two main food writers, Jeremy Schneider and Pete Genovese, who are both amazing. And then I edit a list of sort of arts and food freelancers from theater, local theater reviews, Broadway, classical music, sort of like world music stuff, like general arts features about different like performing arts centers, openings, closings, endless COVID related things over the last couple of years. That's what it's mostly been. And yeah, sort of try to maintain a daily report that, you know, taps into all the amazing arts and food that are going on in New Jersey, which is very difficult, but we do our best, I guess.
Yeah, New Jersey's like home of a lot of the best food ever. So
you're telling me, man. Yeah, we are beyond spoiled. Whenever I travel, like pretty much anywhere in the country, like I always think like, man, like especially unless you're in like a major city, like the level, because everything's so close here with us being the most densely populated state and being one of the most diverse. Like, I think Jersey City is like either the most diverse or second most diverse city in the country based on whatever metrics the census uses or whatever. But yeah, the amount of great food and different types of food that are available to us at all times, like within a half hour in any direction, like you can have like, you know, probably 50 different cuisines.
It's nuts.
It's amazing. Yeah. And it's impossible to keep up with. You think that there's a lot of like local bands reaching out saying, hey, why didn't you write about us? You should say people are much more passionate about food, or at least our food coverage, because not everyone listens to music every single day. Everyone eats 3 times a day.
Oh yeah.
So everyone has an opinion. A couple of years ago, we started the Jersey Eats. This isn't a plug. This is just to say it. Like the Jersey Eats Facebook page, which now it's just like a group just to talk about, you know, food in New Jersey and for people to share like their, you know, favorite restaurants. Like we share our food content there, and it has like 7,000 like very active members, and it is the best resource in the world for if you're like, I'm in a random part of the state and I want this type of food, where can I get it?
Wow.
You post that in there and you have 15 or 20 recommendations within 5 minutes. It's like the most incredible crowdsourcing like food recommendation that exists in New Jersey. That's all user generated. So anybody listening, if you need food recommendations, restaurant recommendations, Jersey Eats on Facebook.
I was going to say, you probably get 1,000,001 restaurants and hey, come review the place, come stop by.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's even more so just readers who are like, I can't believe, like, I've been eating at this place for 50 years. You never write about it, blah, blah, blah. And again, like, especially like pizza places, like when I was growing up in Jackson, I at one point I could count 20 different pizza places in Jackson alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jackson's like a bigger town, but that's,
I was going to say,
like, I mean, I know Pete Genovese, who's literally written the book on New Jersey pizza. He's written several New Jersey pizza books. I think he's counted, like, I forget if it's well over into the thousands of New Jersey pizzerias. And I think like half of them are named like Luigi's or like that. Like 2 brothers, 3 brothers, 4 brothers. It's all, but we try to have, you know, fun with the food coverage. Like Jeremy just did this story about a 1 pound mozzarella stick that almost like killed him.
You know what? I think that came across my timeline and I read that.
Yeah. It was that was a fun one, and highly recommend. Like, he did a really good job with it. It's a lot of fun, and apparently it's a really good mozzarella stick. He says it's not only big, but it's also the best one he's ever had. So if you need a mozzarella stick, go to Bloomfield.
My fiance will tell you that is like, I could eat that all day. It's horrible.
I know.
But whether your listeners all over, wherever you're listening from, whether you like it or not, New Jersey is the only place you should eat pizza in the entire world, not named Italy. And I'll throw New York in there just because I'm here now. But
yeah, they're okay. Yeah. But all the good New Yorkers have come to New Jersey and started making pizza here. And then a couple of them went to Florida and made some good pizza in Florida too. Okay. Florida's like half New Jersey people.
So I won't ask the best, but I'll ask your favorite pizza spot in the Shore.
Favorite pizza spot at the Shore?
Mm-hmm.
I really like Medusa in Asbury Park. Have you been?
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that place is great. Sit down. So it's not a slice place. It's sort of like the sort of like gourmet. Like I don't know if it's like officially like the I forget the name of the type of pizza that starts with an M. The Napola whatever pizzas. But their selection is great. It's always super fresh. It's BYOB, so it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, and it's not as well known as Porta, which is like the institution of Asbury Park. Highly recommend the pizza there. And that's a newer place. My old school recommendation would be Vic's in Bradley Beach.
Yes, that's my favorite.
With they're like sort of thin crust like bar pies. They're quote unquote special, which is always on the menu, which is just extra cheese, green bell peppers, and sausage. It's simple, but oh my God, it's so good. I got it delivered the other day. So good.
I was home this past weekend visiting my parents in Neptune, so I went to Vic's.
Yeah. It's so good. And then people hate on Pete and Elda's. That's like, the famous place in Neptune City where if you eat the double extra large pie, which is like super thin, then you get a free T-shirt. And I like Pete and Elda's a lot. I mean, it's so greasy that it's sort of like you pay for it later. It's but I probably have like 9 of those T-shirts. So
I definitely have 2.
Yeah, super good.
Them and then Zachary's in Long Branch is my third.
I don't think I've had Zachary's before, but I'm sure I will eventually.
Yeah, it's just the nature. Pizza aside, let's take a quick break, and when we'll come back, we'll continue our interview with Mr. Olivier here. As always, follow A-Side, B-Side podcast. They're available everywhere podcasts can be listened to, and right here on what'sthemovement.net. Like I said, we're here with Bobby Olivier, journalist, writer, tastemaker, and pizza connoisseur for sure. So
that's me.
I just was going through your bylines and spin today, and you got to do some opinion work. You did the review on Dawn FM and for Adele's 30.
Yep. Yeah. I've gotten into a good group. It's actually funny how I started writing for Spin, and not to go off track, but I've only been writing for them for about 2 years, and it was during the pandemic. I happened to see on it. I knew someone who because they sort of got rid of their staff and sort of like rebuilt as like almost like sort of like a startup. I knew one of the guys who was sort of on like the ground level with them trying to rebuild it, and I happened to see on Instagram like the moment that Taylor Swift announced Folklore, like the surprise album. I happened to see it, and I sent it to him just as like a friend, just to be like, oh my God. And then I was like, I know because I love Taylor Swift. I was like, I know everything about her. If you want me to review it, I'm happy to. It was just sort of a shot in the dark. He was like, actually, you know what? That would be great. And then
nice.
I was writing for them ever since, doing a mix of features but I've been doing a lot more reviews the last year or so. That's sort of become like a niche. That's sort of been like a fun itch to scratch, because like our readership on NJ.com doesn't really like we're fighting the wave of way too many music publications for us to do like regular album reviews. Like it's just not worth it for us. But obviously, Spin being sort of an institution that they still do it. So just did Dawn FM. I don't know when this is coming out, but the next one is Mitski. I had that review's already in the can, and that'll come out right before the album comes out on February 4th. And then I have Big Thief after that the next week, and then Avril Lavigne with Travis Barker.
Oh man, awesome!
Yeah, busy month. But yeah, that Weekend album. Do you like the Weekend album?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And I didn't love After Hours, the one that he put out like literally like the day that the world
was like I was gonna say like then and there.
It was like right when it sort of hit, and like no one even knew that it hit, and then before you knew it, everyone was on TikTok doing the blinding lights dance. But yeah, I thought that, and like I didn't love his like Super Bowl halftime show. Like it just felt like the whole like that whole era felt like a little like sterile to me. But then the new album, like the concept, like, and the whole Jim Carrey stuff.
Yeah.
But like all that stuff, like the concept and whatever, that's all fine. But like if the songs are like, especially for him, like if the singles don't hit, like none of that shit matters.
Yeah.
Can I curse on here? Is that okay?
Yeah. I got off the radio a long time ago, so no FCC to worry about.
All right. Very good. So I think the singles are great. Well, there's only the one single, Take My Breath, before the album came out. But I mean, a lot of the tracks on it are great. The Best Friends, which is just like super like, bumpy, like just like that's what I was missing on After Hours, was just like that, like the low end stuff. A lot of the synth work is really cool. The How Can I Make You Love Me, that song's awesome. The way the songs all feed into each other, like. And I really thought that he might be getting like a little bit into like the post-album world, where like the Drakes and Justin Bieber's, where like the album itself really doesn't matter. Like there's not really like a reward. It's not really a rewarding experience for the listener to listen to it all the way through. It's really made to be picked apart and dropped into playlists and be half listened to while you're playing Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah,
that's probably too old of a reference. I don't even know what the game is now that everyone's just binging. But anyway, this new album, it really is rewarding to listen to it in one shot. It sort of plays as its own sort of like radio station in purgatory. But the song Less Than Zero, which is right at the end, which is almost like an indie rock kind of song, is really, really good. And that was actually a cool thing, because we got to like normally, for, I don't know if the listeners care about this or not, but like normally an artist has an album coming out and all the music journalists either get the album ahead of time on like a private stream and get to listen to it early so they can write the review, and then usually they'll say, okay, you can't publish the review until the week the album comes out, or the day that the album comes out, or they don't send advances at all. Like certain artists just don't do it. Or they'll send it to, or they'll tell everyone they don't do it, but then they actually send it to Rolling Stone.
I was going to say.
But this one for the Weekend was different, because they wouldn't send advances, but he did jump on a Zoom call with like 50, like every press person you could think of from every music publication to do like a live like listening party thing.
Oh, that's cool.
He jumped on, and then like it's funny to see someone who's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars like not know how to use Zoom properly. Like the same way that all of us don't. Zoom is the great equalizer. But then like he just sort of sat there, and like everyone listened to the album all the way through, and then he just sort of like talked about it a little bit, and that was cool to have that little experience. And it also, like, I think it really makes sense for artists to do stuff like that, because then you endear yourself to the press. They feel like they know you, and then it's a lot harder for them to write a bad review when they see that you're an actual person who doesn't know how to get off mute.
Yeah, that, and like it's it's personal. It's better than what a publicist could do.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, and there's great publicists who give you everything that you could possibly need, and like are real advocates for their artists, and then there's others that, you're sort of on your own to figure your stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this is kind of unrelated. I really enjoyed the Quincy Jones skit on there too. That was good.
Yeah, I thought that sort of fed into the theme of like sort of regret, and how could my life have been different? And then I forget what the next song right after it is, but I know it sort of played right into it.
Sacrifice.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, no, I really didn't have any issues with that album. I feel like the length was good, and like the sort of like adult contemporary stuff, like Out of Time, which I think is gonna eventually, when it hits the radio, is like that's gonna be like an adult contemporary crossover. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna get sick of it kind of song, because it's definitely like in that sort of Bruno Mars pocket where your mom will sing along to it and everything.
Yeah. You also covered Adele's 30, and I have a question.
Sure.
Is it me, or do you think that My Little Love deserves a Drake verse?
God, I don't know. Well, that's tough because that's the one that's like directly about her son. I don't know. Of all the songs to have a Drake verse on, I think that one might be, unless Drake has, quietly become a big part of this child's life, we don't know about it. I would say you leave that one alone and you put Drake on, like, give him a verse on "Oh My God" or something, which is more like a pop track.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that would sort of break my brain if he did that.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking like a real introspective. It sounded like some 40 production, like My Little Love, and then maybe like Drake talking about his son. But you make a good point. Let's just leave it at that. Which do you prefer to write? Do you prefer to do like your regular news coverage with your inverted pyramid, or do you like to write the reviews?
That's a good question. I think I like my favorite thing still is to go out and cover a show and do a concert review. Like that's the bulk of, for if anybody who reads me on NJ.com sort of knows that the bulk of my writing in the last couple of years has been like guy at the concert, like consistently, capturing that night and that sort of shared experience of, 5, 10, 15 or 50,000 people, and trying to articulate, the story of that night. That like, and every show is like its own sort of adventure. Like just getting the fact that any of these big shows, the fact that any of them happen at all is amazing to me. Like you have to go right, because now we've seen everything that can go wrong now. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I covered a good and probably like 24 shows between when shows sort of came back in July and then through December, through like, I would say November, and then December I sort of tried to stay away with Omicron, but yeah, like just the appreciate, like going back, and I covered the Foo Fighters at MSG. They did the first like arena show in 15 months in the whole country. Like, yeah, at least that was like actually properly sanctioned and not just like a bunch of people in a backyard in Alabama somewhere. And that show, like once they kicked in, like, it was, that's something I'll never forget. Like that truly like electrifying, like human experience kind of stuff. And I never feel more alive than when I'm at a show, and like, that's like a real privilege thing, like being able to write about that stuff and, and have people, care about what I think about it, I mean, is amazing to me. Like the fact that anyone cares what this kid from Jackson, New Jersey thinks about Lady Gaga or whatever. And cares so much that they seek out my email and then write me a nasty email about it. Like that shows how they care even more, I think. So yeah, I mean, I mean, the criticism stuff is fun, but I like a balance of really now the balance that I prefer, because I'm sort of over the beat writing, the daily, like sort of breaking news stuff like that. It's formulaic. Like I've done every version of it. And when you go through enough like Bruce Springsteen album cycles and stuff, like it gets repetitive. So I mean, I like it. I like a balance between writing and editing and getting to work with other reporters and try to make them better. And then through their writing, they teach me things. I find that very like enriching. So yeah, I like a mix. But as far as writing, yeah, being able to share my opinion and have anyone care about it is a pretty cool thing. Still,
yeah,
even doing it for like a decade or whatever.
Yeah, it's a cool job. I'm gonna ask Chris Jordan that same question, how he feels about covering Bruce all the time. So.
Oh yeah, well they're Asbury Park Press, they cover him because that's their backyard.
Yeah, that's home base. Yeah, and like, Bon Jovi too.
Yeah, and I mean, and we cover when I say we, I mean me. Like cover Bruce, like, a lot. Wherever if he's spotted taking a picture with a fan or something. We'll write a quick thing on it, try to get the photo. And we wouldn't do it like I think that level of doing it is like at like sort of crosses like the idol worship thing. And is it even news? Like what is actually newsworthy about that? But there's also the side of, giving the readers what they want to read. And, our analytics show that the Springsteen stuff sells to put it that way. Like, people are reading it, and when they stop reading it, I will stop writing about it happily. I feel like I have a minor in Bruce Springsteen.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? I guess it's like, all right, like maybe it doesn't feel like news that Bruce is at Danny Clinch or something like that. But also at the same time, like maybe it'll make me go to Cookman Ave this particular day. I might just run into it. So I guess it from a reader's perspective, it feels like it's home.
Yeah, I mean, and for our readers in New Jersey, I mean, the fact that Springsteen lives in Colts Neck, 10 minutes from where he grew up. A lot of people, look at him as like the guy who stuck around and, is still like, and everyone wants to fantasize that they'll run into him someday. So I think you hit it on the head. I think that is a big part of it.
So you like covering the shows in person. Do you mix it up in the pit, getting photos yourself too?
No, I did, and it's funny you say that because I did grow up on like metal and punk, and like my favorite band in the world is Killswitch Engage, which is metalcore band from Massachusetts that was like big in like the mid 2000s. Who I've seen. I just saw them open for Slipknot. That I've seen them like 14 times. No, wow. I don't get in the pit anymore. No, it's too much. Like it's just because you're always. It's one. I'm often there for work, and if any sort of fight broke out or anything, that would be like a problem. But also, like you're always one hit away from getting hit in the head the wrong way, or like I'm fine not getting in the pit and just sort of standing off to the side and getting some good like video footage to put on Twitter of the pit.
Yeah.
That's for
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
It's fun. I kind of had that same question when I sat down with Jeff Crespi. So he was like,
Jeff's the best. And I always say like, and I've told Jeff this, that I know him at a good show if he's there because he wouldn't be there if it wasn't a good show. So like, if I know the show matters if Jeff is there.
Yeah. I told him and a few artists that I've covered in the past, I'm like, you're not shit unless you've been, unless you have a photo taken by Jeff.
Seriously. Yeah. I think he's taken at least one or two of me, just like me standing in the crowd and then sent it to me. So that's my Jersey Boy Scout badge.
Yeah, same. He got me hosting a show, and it looks like I'm performing. So people are like, "Oh, you got an album coming out?" I'm like, "Nah, just Right. Funny enough, actually, now that I think about it, the artwork for the podcast is based off of a Jeff Crespi photo. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a random sidebar. Yeah. So, all right. So like shows coming back in person. I work at a New York theater, and we've had some shows come back. How do you feel about I guess working every weekend, every week to just stopping to back on it?
Yeah. It was definitely a culture shock in both directions. And I mean, luckily there's enough tours that will hit New Jersey during the week that it's not every single weekend. But I mean, yeah, in like July, August, like I'll usually have like a show per weekend and shows mixed in during the week. As long as it's not like I can do back to back, like 2 shows in a row, but like doing 3 nights in a row is like a lot. Because, it's going to the show. First it's, like making your schedule so you have time to eat dinner beforehand, driving to the show, parking, waiting for the show to start, sitting through the show, driving home, trying to get to sleep, and then waking, because I don't write the review the same night. I wake up and write it with like a fresh brain.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, like because I used to do that when I first started. I would be like, I have to have like a draft of it done before I go to sleep, and then I would wake up and then I would have to rewrite so much of it anyway because I was writing just like totally delirious stuff at like 3 o'clock in the morning. That I learned that it was actually a lot faster for me to just go to sleep, wake up, and do it in the morning. So then for me to wake up, write the review, publish it, and then by the time you publish it, it's like 10 or 11 in the morning, and then got to leave for the next show in a couple hours. Like that's a lot. Like, and for me, like, and I have to, I have my editing duties in between. Like there's been plenty of days where it's like, all I do is eat, work, and sleep for like, 2 or 3 days straight without doing anything else in between.
Yeah.
Which, it's okay sometimes, but it's not sustainable. I mean, and that's sort of why I'm transitioning now to doing more editing. And, this year like in years past before the pandemic, I would be doing like 50 or 60 shows a year at least, reviewing. And like now, like this year, I'm hoping to be more like in like the 30 range,
okay.
and keep it like to a couple a month. But then, then the shows start coming up. It's like, oh, well, I want to go to that. I want to go to that. Like no one else can go to this. And then I end up like I'm my own worst enemy on that for sure. But I only went to 1 show in December. And I'm not going to any this month. A lot of the stuff was postponed anyway, but like, I told myself like with COVID and stuff, like I'm waiting for the surge to go down. And now thankfully it is. So February we'll be back at it, covering a bunch of stuff, and getting the byline back out there for things other than, Springsteen sightings.
Yeah. So do you think a Fugees tour will ever happen ever?
I think they'll try it again for 30 years in 5 years. And, they said that it was, for anyone that doesn't know, like the tour just got canceled officially. It was supposed to be the 25th anniversary of The Score. They said this time it was due to COVID. I'll take them at their word, I guess, but they're some of the most volatile people in the world. To try to get them to actually sustain a tour. But the thing is, they're also old. They're all like, they're 50s now, or late 40s, 50s. So I think that it could happen. Like, could they ever get through a full tour? I don't know. But I could, like, I'm hoping for one New Jersey show to happen, like, while they're still sort of, able to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe in 4 years.
Yeah. I have plenty of Lauryn Hill horror stories, so I'll just leave that there.
Yeah, same. The last one that I covered, it was her and Nas, and Nas was great, and she was just not good. Like the way that she performs the songs now, like, and I've heard stuff that like she has to perform them in such a way that they're unrecognizable because of some like legal stuff. And at that point, it's like, okay, I know she's got to make money and everything, but like arrange them in a way that's actually like pleasant to listen to. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, before I get like, a bunch of hate mail again. it wasn't a good it just wasn't a good set, and the people around me by the end of it were like, exasperated by the whole thing.
And she's a little weird about photos too, in my experience.
Yeah.
But last thing before we get up out of here,
Sure.
favorite venue in New Jersey. I know that's probably hard.
Favorite venue. It's the older I get, the more that I just say venues that are near my house because it's easier for me to get to. I mean, I still love a show at the Starland Ballroom. I think that they have good sight lines, and ever since they redid it, after I think Irene was the one that messed them up, Hurricane Irene in 2011. I think it's a great venue. The sound's usually pretty good. A lot of the bands that I like, sort of like mid-level rock, punk kind of metal bands, still play there. And I have that place like down to a science of knowing when I have to get there, where I can stand on the rail. It's going to be like the perfect spot. So yeah, I mean I love that place. But then, a lot of the best shows I've ever seen have been, the big ones at MetLife Stadium. Your Bruce Springsteens, your Metallica, Taylor Swift, even like BTS, like stuff like that. Like when you have that many people, and it's pretty epic usually. If the artist is good, like it's hard to mess that up. Like 55,000 people, singing in unison is something to behold. Yeah,
I somehow got on the floor for On the Run tour a few years back. So
I was at
bonkers.
Did you go to On the Run 2, the one that was delayed?
2, yeah. So I went the second day after the crazy rain.
Yeah. And not to hold you up, but it was funny because I felt like that was like a karma moment because that show, the first show was delayed. They didn't go on to like 11, which is brutal. But I felt like for me that was payback because when I covered Taylor Swift, I think it was either the year before when she played 3 nights at MetLife Stadium. I went the first night, perfect weather. Second 2 nights poured the entire show.
Oh man!
And she played through it, but she was she slipped and fell at one point, and was luckily fine. But that was a show that if you were at either of those shows, you got soaked head to toe.
Yeah.
God forbid, if you had a wallet in your pocket, that wallet would get totally destroyed. So yeah, that was my payback. Was it rained for Beyonce? Yeah. But all right, man. Well, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. And you're always welcome to come back if you ever want to talk your shit.
Yeah, man. I love to talk my shit. All right.
Yeah. All right. Where can the people find you on social media?
Yeah, the people can find me at Bobby Olivier. Olivier is spelled different than Oliver. Olivier. I'm at Bobby Olivier on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and just nj.com/entertainment to see me and my team's great work every day.
Indeed, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. I've already told you all the places you can. In fact, you pressed play and listened this far, so I think you figured it out. Thank you guys. I'm Ramsey Said What, and we're gone.